Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hi, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
I keep trying to find different ways to say hello for every episode as this doesn't work. So hi, we're really glad you're here and that you keep coming back here. And we hope you'll bring other people too.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we have people listening and watching from all over the world.
Around the world and back again. So today we're shouting out Pakistan.
Hello.
Yeah, the last couple episodes we have shouted out countries that we have never shouted out before.
Which is
and
exciting.
That's really exciting.
They're showing up in our stats. We're spreading.
Yes, we are. We are also shouting out the people of the state of Idaho.
Hello, people in Idaho. Thank you for being preschool peeps.
Yay.
We appreciate your being here. Your being here really supports what we do. It supports things like algorithms, which we don't fully understand, but okay. No I am a little bit on a campaign having to do with the YouTube algorithm.
We really are.
I am.
Yeah.
If you all would just go to YouTube, look up this podcast, watch an episode, like and subscribe, that would help us out a lot. So if you're enjoying this podcast, please go do that. Yeah. I don't even care if you put on the episode on YouTube, walk out of the room, mow the lawn, come back, hit like and subscribe.
But really, you should listen. It's great.
But really, look at us. We're actual human beings.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Who don't mow our own lawn.
No.
So why you gave that as an example?
I don't know why I gave that as an example.
We both live in like rental communities, so we don't have to do that
I don't know why I gave that example.
Yeah.
All right. Today's title might have people very, very excited. Today's title is Behavior Training Devices. And you're at home right now thinking, one of two things. They're thinking, is there a device that could help me with children's behavior? Or what on earth are you doing to the children with a device?
Yeah. I was thinking, they're thinking, yay, I want one.
Well,
yeah.
So there's a lot of research right now about the impact of devices and technology on young children. And one of the things that's being talked about, and I suspect will be talked about even more widely as time goes on, is not just the impact of using technology, but particularly, in particular, the impact of touch screens.
Yeah.
So people are now seeing, they're going, oh, this isn't going to a good place, is it?
It's not going where you expect it to go, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is one author. I wish I knew his name right now, but there is one author who says that, and he writes about how anxious society is right now, and he writes about touch screens being a behavioral training device, which when you think about it is like daunting. Well, and we're gonna talk more about that. Allison's looking up his. I know.
Well,
look up his name. We like to
I
give
remember
credit.
the name of the book, so
we like to give credit where credit is due.
Look, it comes right up. Okay.
What is
Jonathan?
Yeah, Jonathan.
Haidt?
Jonathan, Haidt. Thank you for this information. We saw you on an interview.
Yes.
And you were talking about. And by the way, his book is called. Let's give him the full
Anxious Generation.
The Anxious Generation. Go get it. It's popular.
It's
it came up right in the
#1
Google.
New York Times bestseller.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Anxious Generation. And one of the things that's making children expect immediate gratification, plus causing anxiety, is the use of your touch screen. So those touch screens exist on tablets, phones, and by the way, the smartboard in the classroom. This is not good. I want you to think about the use of a touch screen, right? Yeah. So I'm doing something, and the screen, whether I'm playing a game or doing what is allegedly an educational software or app, there's always an immediate response from the screen.
Yes.
Right? I touch the screen,
and
I do something, and it gives me stars for doing it well, or it
makes a noise.
It makes a noise, or the character moves, or and we're making that happen through
your movements, right?
Right.
You're touching.
And it's happening immediately.
Yeah.
Which teaches children that when you do something, something immediate should happen.
Right.
right?
Right.
So when they don't immediately get the gratification that they're seeking and that they learn to seek through the use of touch screens from the time they were 2 years old on an airplane,
Yes.
then that causes them frustration and anxiety. Because this is what they've seen their whole lives. This is what they've come to. If we are in a restaurant with children, and I've seen it over and over, folks. I'm in a restaurant where there are young children and people hand them a device. Even if they're sitting there watching a video, which again, you should be talking to children in a restaurant. But even if they're sitting there watching a video, it is a touch screen.
Yes.
You would be amazed how quickly children learn that when I touch this screen, the video will pause or unpause. Or it'll look
fast
different.
forward, or it looks different. Yep.
Yeah. Something happens when I touch the screen.
Yeah.
I was in a classroom and they had a smart board in there that they put on during free play so that the children could go over and do an activity.
Yeah.
It was a literacy activity.
Yeah.
The children could choose it, right? Yeah. But even within the screen time limits, which they ensured they were within the screen time limits for their age and for their licensing requirements, they're going over to this thing. They're moving things around the screen. They're touching something and moving it. It's immediate gratification. When they put it in the right place, there was like confetti that came out of the software.
Yep.
Not out of the software, but on the software. There was confetti on the screen, and the children were like, yay, I did it. Immediate gratification.
Yeah.
And that's why today I get college students where if I don't respond to them immediately, if I don't grade their thing immediately, I have a certain amount of time to grade your work.
Right.
And if I'm teaching a large class, it takes me that amount of time to get through everybody's work.
Right.
Because it's not a long period of time when I am required,
Right,
as the instructor of this college course, to get your grade to you.
right,
Right?
right.
And this is why I get consistent emails like, did you look at it yet? Okay, I have 5 days to do this.
Right. Right. Like there's no patience anymore, because I think our generation, like, we waited, right? Like if you wanted to find out information,
I had to go to the library.
to wait for my mother to drive me to the library to look it up in an encyclopedia. Now it's like, if I want to know something, look, I just did it. I wanted to know the author's name. I looked it up. I found it out like that. But we didn't grow up with that, right?
That's
so
right.
we can still kind of delay things. Children now, they just grow up with instant information. If they want it, they can find it. They don't need to wait. And they expect everybody else to be on the same timeline wavelength as they are. And we're not. Nor should we have to do everything immediately.
I have a particular email address for some work that I do teaching credential students.
Yeah.
It's its own email address.
Right.
I have an automatic response to every email that goes out that says, please allow 3 business days for me to respond.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of other work I do.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many people go in there multiple times in one day going, hi, I sent you something. I didn't hear back. I didn't hear back. I didn't hear back.
And every time they're getting the wait 3 days. Wait 3 days. Yeah. Like,
that's anxiety.
yeah. So like, I was just going to say, like, what is happening
Why do you
to
expect immediate?
society that we are causing such anxiety when somebody doesn't call you back right away? You know, like,
Touch screen, it is those smart boards, it is the tablets, it is the phones. Anything else you have that is a touch screen. There are other devices for children that have a touch screen.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not saying eliminate all technology. We can't do that
I
either.
don't think that's the right thing either.
Over the age of 2 years old, children do need to be exposed to the use of technology, but good uses of it. And we've recorded that in the past and we've talked about it. And you can go back and find that. I'm not saying get rid of the technology. I'm saying we have to think about how often children are using immediate response softwares or apps that teach them and teaches their brain to expect immediate response. Because don't forget, in brain development, the first 5 years is when the brain, the architecture of the brain is developed and sculpted.
Yeah.
And so what they're learning in those first 5 years about something like delayed gratification, having to wait for a response, or that my every action will cause a positive response is being imprinted on their brains.
Right, and then there's no going back.
There is no going back. It's being imprinted.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize that enough.
Right.
Under the age of 2, they shouldn't be using any of those things. There really should be no screen time other than with you as a family or a teacher, right? To sit for a couple minutes. And the American Academy of Pediatrics says that screen time with children under the age of 2 should only be to like sit with you on a Zoom with grandma who lives far away. That's it. There shouldn't be, I'm going to hand you this in the doctor's office to keep you quiet.
But that's what's happening a lot. I see children who are using strollers, which means to me they are probably under 2.
Maybe.
Walking around with a phone.
Yeah.
You know, they probably know how to use the phone better than I do. And that's sad at that age. They shouldn't. But then it's like they're always down here, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's not good for their neck even.
It's not good for their fine motor skills.
Yeah.
Because there's been an upcrease in like fine motor skill issues because they're so used to doing this or this that they now can't hold pencils properly.
For those of you just listening.
Sorry, I forget that we're not.
For those of you just
doing
listening.
the tapping, like the tapping that you would do on an iPhone or the thumb that you would maybe use to
text.
type or text, right? Is making their muscles grow in a way that then now they can't grip a pencil properly.
Right.
Because they're in this like hook. I don't know. I think it's shaped like a hook. Their fingers. I don't know. And there's been like more fine motor struggles, I think, with children because they're so used to just tapping everything.
Yeah. I'm continually disturbed by the number of very young children who pick up a book and try to swipe it rather than turn the page. Continuously disturbed by that.
Yeah.
And then they get very frustrated when the picture doesn't change.
Yes.
So in addition to thinking about screen time limits and how are we managing screen time in a way that's good for them, we also have to add another layer onto that, I think. I think we have to add the layer of touch screens.
Yeah.
They are imprinting on their brain this immediate gratification that's not going to be good when they get older. Right. And the boss says, I can't see you today.
Yeah.
I can't work on this right now.
Yeah.
Right? When someone says, you need to wait for the results of this test.
Listen, waiting is not easy for anybody.
That's true.
It's not easy for us adults who had to wait to go to the library to look it up in an encyclopedia, but imagine.
Now you're dating us.
Well, yeah, but like it's not. I'm just saying, waiting is hard for us.
We're so old.
You want to wait for a test result for like say medical? That I'm having anxiety for 3 days because I want to know, am I okay?
Absolutely.
Right? But imagine growing up in an anxiety with the anxiety of like I get it immediately, and now I have to wait 3 days.
That's right.
Like you're setting yourself into a tizzy, I think.
It's messed up.
It's really messed up.
I'm just going to go with it's messed up.
It's messed up. And then what? You're contacting the professor or the doctor or whoever every 5 seconds. It's not going to make it happen faster, but you're so used to snapping your fingers and being like, oh, if I just do it again, it'll happen again. Because you're used to pushing that button on the touch screen and something happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work like that.
I think it's impacting all of us. Yes. I think even if we are adults, this immediate gratification thing is impacting all of us in some way.
Yeah.
We've become a lot less patient.
Yes.
A lot less willing to wait for things like test results, like medical test results. A lot less willing to wait for someone to call you about something. A lot just because things are because information moves very quickly.
It does. Yeah.
But when we're talking about the structure and architecture of a child's brain, I think it has more gravity. It has more importance.
Yeah.
You know? So I was recently facilitating a parent group, which I do sometimes, and we were talking about screen time limits. And they have very young children, and they're like, well, how do I start to set these limits? I've never had limits at home. And I'm like, you have to start to set it.
Yeah.
And in that group, there was one person who said, I never let my children use the technology. And I was like, wow, good for you. Bucking society in that way.
Yeah, but I feel like you should. Like
but honestly, if I was a parent of young children now, I think I would use it. Honestly,
I know.
If I'm going to be totally honest, I can't sit here and say I wouldn't use it.
But here's the hard part is like they need to know how to use it. Like they're going to grow up always having technology. And if they don't know how to use it
it's an
by a
issue.
certain age, now they're at a deficit.
They have to know how to use it. Yeah.
Right? And the technology is changing every single day. So if you're not up with it, you're already obsolete what you learned 2 minutes ago. But I don't think we should just be handing them things in like, just out of boredom or to pass the time. Like, remember like when we were in the car, like now kids are just tapped into like when they're in the car. And when we were in the car, we would play games and talk to each other. And like, maybe we're bored and that was okay. Or I'd be bored at my house and I would find something to do. And like, now it's like nobody's bored anymore because I hear just play with this game.
There are certain things that we were taught were bad to feel. And they really aren't bad to feel.
No.
Who says that boredom is a bad thing?
No, they actually say the most creative ideas come out of boredom.
They do,
And
don't
now
they?
children aren't bored.
Yeah, so they're not having as many creative ideas
Yes.
is what they're saying
So
out
like
there in the
all
scientific
of these
world.
like companies that are super big now that you know about came from some guy being bored in his garage
Or
one
woman.
day.
Or woman.
Bored one day. All your artists, those artistic types, they were bored one day.
This is why I say things like, the best ideas come to me when I am like
Just
doing nothing in particular.
Or sometimes, you know how like you and I have a conversation, I'm like, I don't know, I have to think about that. And then I get home and I'm in the middle of like watching TV and I think it's because my brain is maybe at peace or like concentrating on the show that I'm like, oh, I get it. And I text you in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
You know, be like, oh, I thought about what you said. But it's because my brain released or something like, and that's, but if I never have time to just, or sometimes I'm driving home, like, you know, like your brain is like on autopilot. That's when sometimes it pops into my head, like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Because my brain was like, oh, I processed it. But if you're never allowing your brain to be at rest or at boredom or just clear, when do you have time to think and process things?
We were taught the following things are bad. Boredom. Hunger.
Yeah. Yes. Because this is why we all have weight issues at our generation.
You're supposed to wait for the hunger to eat.
No.
Not try to avoid the hunger.
But you know what a lot of it is? You're just bored, so you're going to eat.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were taught boredom, hunger, even being tired was no good. Right? It's not true.
No, it's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. It's okay to be bored.
But we digress somehow.
Oh, we did, yeah.
We
because
totally
we got
digressed.
passionate about something else.
We did. That's why the podcast is one of the top podcasts, because we're just going with the flow.
I think it's one of the, yes. I think it's one of the top because we're just real people. We're very real people. So yeah, in our real lives, we go on tangents all the time, and then 20 minutes later, we're like, "Oh, remember we were talking about that? Yeah, okay, yeah."
That's true.
That's what real people do.
Story.
That's what real interacting with human beings is like. You know, and I think we're just real, and people relate to that.
And I hope people relate to really think about that touch screen. It's not good for your child's brain. It's not good for your student's brain. It's not good for the brain.
Yes.
All right, folks, we're going to go. We will take this side conversation offline right now.
Yes.
And we will catch you next time on the podcast.
Bye, peeps.